Welcome everybody and welcome back to the channel. Look who's with me today.
What?
It is Sensei Suplex and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for being on here today.
Super excited to be here.
How have you been?
I've been good. It's just been super busy, but I think that's a lot of people just in general now. But man, it's been super chaotic recently. But all in all, I'm just having a great time. Just happy to be able to do what I love.
Right,
Playing
right.
D&D, talking with people, and hanging out and having a blast.
Welcome in Rainbow Renegade. So, tell us about Sensei Suplex. Who is he and where did the name come from?
Sensei Suplex, who is he? Well, he's me, but to actually give you an answer. So I guess, who am I? I am, like I've said before, I'm literally just a 23-year-old freaking nerd who just is super passionate about Dungeons and Dragons after getting sucked into it around when I was 18 or so. And since then, I have literally friggin' I have literally let this thing consume my life in the best way and shape possible. And I've just really been on this mission to show and tell or explain or maybe get more and more people into the world of TTRPGs because it affected my life in a crazy and awesome way. And hopefully, even if it's only 2 people, maybe it affects them in an awesome way as well. And
Awesome.
that's basically me and what I do.
Oh, wow. That answers that. So, the Sensei part.
Yeah, of course.
I know that you have a martial arts background, and I've been following your stream for some time. So I lurk a lot in a lot of people's streams. People don't know I'm there. Shh, quiet. No one knows I'm there, and that's okay. But I learn a lot about people. But I know that you have a martial arts background. Do you still practice? Do you still do martial arts? Is that still a thing?
Oh man, so I haven't done. I meant to actually have my black belt on hand, but I haven't done martial arts in a decent bit. I think the last time I did it was like 2019. That was just like a little on and off sort of deal. But when I was really into martial arts, it was roughly around 2014 until I transitioned, I guess, from the sensei part to the suplex part with wrestling in high school and all that sort of jazz. Yeah.
Okay. So
But,
what martial arts do you practice?
So it was Taekwondo way back when, and after I made it to again 3rd degree black belt or so, and I want to now I want to get into some another martial arts, maybe like jiu-jitsu, maybe boxing. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure, but so I want to get into something. Maybe even kickboxing would be fine, but yeah, something. Because I miss it.
I'm a martial arts person. I practice karate, so I'm
okay.
Don't if you go back as far as quickly as you possibly can. Don't lose any time as little time as you can. Make sure you get there because getting back after a while, you're like, oh, that hurts. Why is there a muscle there?
It's like, oh, I even joke around and just try to do a kick or whatever, or one of my martial arts moves, and oh, that did not feel good.
Like,
am I old? I'm only 20. No,
no,
what's going on?
This is not how this is supposed to go.
But yeah,
I get it.
It still was a lot of fun though.
It is definitely a lot of fun. But when did you start streaming, and then why did you choose Twitch to start for your base?
Oh, when did I start streaming? So I guess like everybody, I guess when I first started taking streaming a little bit seriously was in 2020 with the pandemic, and everybody's bored and no one's got anything else to do, right? So I decided to start streaming around that time. But rewind a little bit, I did start streaming in around 2016. It wasn't anything good or anything important. It was a dumpster fire stream, and I was just playing an old game called Paragon from way back when. Yeah, it was. I don't know if anybody else knows about that game, but
I think you have to be a super geek to know that type of stuff. I just outed myself, but go ahead.
But I mean, seriously, I've always been into content creation. We can talk a little bit more about it later, but since I was literally 9 yeyears old, hey everybody, this is Sensei Soup. Oh, well, actually that wasn't even my name at the time, but hey, this is Kevon, and I'm here for my 30-second Minecraft Let's Play, and it's gonna be great.
Oh, that's so cute.
That was me. I was that kid. Yeah.
Oh, that is adorable. Are there videos of this?
You can't find them anymore,
Dang
but
it.
they're hidden. They're somewhere.
Dang
Oh, man.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, we have to someone do a deep dive into YouTube or wherever you could find.
You ain't gonna find it. I scrubbed
Really?
it clean.
Oh, come on. That would be that's like gold. That's like Sensei Suplex from the past gold, Maybe not. It might be, blackmail
Let's hit
material,
a
but
subscriber
still.
goal and then maybe. No, I'm kidding, but-
So, was Twitch your first choice, or were you on YouTube, or TikTok was a thing?
Well, I guess I had always been into YouTube for like a super long time. I just really loved content creation in general. It's weird to think about it like in this day and age, in this new era where you grow up and then you see, instead of people wanting to grow up to be like, I don't know, a celebrity like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I'm thinking this, Kim Kardashian or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see people who see their favorite YouTuber and they're like, I want to be a YouTuber when I grow up.
Right.
And that was me. So I was always into YouTube, but when it came to Twitch, it always felt natural, I guess, when it came to being able to just really show, hey, I'm playing this game, and if my friends want to watch me play, then then sure.
Right.
And when it came to live streaming, YouTube didn't really do it, so yeah, that's why Twitch kind of just made sense at the time and stuff.
So would you say, like TikTok is your main platform, Twitch is your main platform? Where do you normally sit on the platform content creation universe? Like, what's your platform?
Oh man, so my name in my Discord is Sensei Suplex, the TikTok guy. I am not actually the TikTok guy, but there's a running joke where, so I spent about three-ish years, really focusing and nailing down, trying to learn how to do live streaming, all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
But I upload 1 or 2 TikTok videos and then boom, I literally have almost twice my followers on Twitch, and I was like, oh, well. That feels great. Thanks, algorithm. So, yeah, go ahead.
How, the TikTok algorithm is so weird. Like, you could do 1 or 2 videos and, boom, all of a sudden, like you said, out of control. Or you could do, 100 videos and nothing happens. Like, what do you think the difference is between Twitch and TikTok in that perspective?
Well, there's a couple of things. I think Twitch and TikTok, they sit on 2 opposite sides of the spectrum. So oh man, I love talking content creation, but for Twitch, it's more of, from what I've seen after doing it for a couple of years, it's more for the community building aspect, being able to talk and really see who the people that you're making content for, just hanging out with, and forming those connectionships and bonds. And then TikTok is more so for quick dopamine.
Yes.
Anybody can kind of see you, and if they maybe vibe with you, maybe they'll watch more of your stuff, and then they'll fall into your YouTube trap, and then Twitch and all that stuff. But it's more of it's more of Twitch is, I kind of imagine having I don't know, going to the bar and having a drink with your friends, and then TikTok is just screaming out with a megaphone, hey, look at this, That's how I kind of view both platforms, at least from my perspective,
Right. Look, I've been on TikTok for a while, but I just recently started posting content that is specific to what I'm doing, and it's very weird. I went from 900 followers to 1,600 followers. What is happening? It was freaking weird. I was like, I don't know if I like this. Stop it.
Also, I see all my freaking they're my staff. They're in chat. They're like, oh, I'm glad I have a cool boss. He's the best boss. Yeah. Say it again, Lorenzo. No, I'm messing with you. I love Lorenzo.
You know what, guys? Just so you guys know, if you want to ask any questions, we have a chat, quick Q&A at the end of toward the end of the stream. So please redeem channel points for that, and then we'll get to your question before the stream ends. So, but back to everything else. You are currently sitting at 3,000 followers on Twitch, right?
Yeah.
Do you plan on becoming a partner? Do you think it's worth it to become a partner?
I guess when it comes to being a partner, so, man, I guess to put it, or try to make a long story short, I had been trying to work towards partner for a couple of years now, and I remember I still have it to this day. I always want to document the journey and show little milestones, so when I look back, I'm like, hey, this can motivate me to keep doing it.
Right.
But with Twitch, it was always kind of feeling that bit of stagnation because I eventually realized there isn't really too much of a way to grow on Twitch
Right.
because like I mentioned before with like the whole analogy of hey, Twitch is like hanging out with your friends at the bar or whatever.
Right.
You're not going to do that with necessarily like strangers. It's more of a case of no one or not many people are going to just scroll all the way down to, let's say, five-viewer person that just
Right.
really want to
Right.
like sit around and talk. Some people do, and that's awesome. I love you guys, but
Me
it's
too.
not necessarily the same. It's not necessarily the norm or the typical thing that always happens, right?
Right.
So, when it comes to answer your question for being partner, I've started focusing more of my efforts onto other platforms and just
Mm-hmm.
obviously I still do Twitch and I more so do to show everything that I am saying in action. So if I'm giving off DM tips, then
Right.
here, if you want to see me live in like action doing the thing that I'm talking about, then show up and hang out with me on Twitch, right?
Right.
When I'm running a game. So that's
So
kind of what I've been doing. But I think for partner, if I get there, I get there. I'm not really too worried about it. I want to focus on building a platform on other places right now.
Right. So I get it. I mean, look, I got affiliate really fast, but partner is like a ways away, so it's not on my radar. But as I feel like as you get closer to the thousands in your follower group, it becomes more of a thing. So I get it. I totally get it if it's not on your radar. Let's talk Dungeons and Dragons for a little bit. So you said earlier that you said earlier that you were 18 years old and like, ooh, D&D. So, but
Oh man.
I remember, I remember, I think I heard a podcast with you some time ago, and I can't remember what the podcast was, but you mentioned in that podcast that you were into a lot of gaming when you were a teenager, and in college, and then one day being bored in college, someone introduced you to D&D. Tell that story. How did that happen? Why did you gravitate from playing video games to a tabletop RPG?
So I talked about this on stream the other day. I think just being huge into gaming and actually being like really, really lucky enough to have a family that was kind of into video games to some degree, that helped out tremendously. And I eventually discovered a game, if it wasn't probably for a game called Divinity Original Sin 2. For those who know Baldur's Gate 3, you probably have heard or you want to probably play Divinity.
Yes.
I played that game and then again, as you said, bored on a random Wednesday college night because it's a Wednesday and you have class in the morning or whatever. And literally my roommate Dylan, freaking love the guy, he just says, hey, Key, we're about to go play this game called Dungeons and Dragons. They're gonna teach like this guy named Josh, they're gonna teach us or whatever. You want to play? I'm like, play no freaking Dungeons and Dragons. We'll play some nerd stuff. Meanwhile, I'm like really into anime. I probably go to anime club, I think, at this time. And then I'm also like, like full on turbo nerd type stuff. But no, I won't play
like
Dungeons and Dragons.
That's too nerdy. That's way nerdy.
Whoa.
I'm only middle nerdy. I'm not all the way nerdy.
Exactly, because like at the time, it's obviously changed a little bit over the years. The perspective is like, oh, you're in your mom's basement, you're gathered around the table saying, hey, my wizard casts fireball, stuff like that, right?
Okay, that's a little bit of call outy, but okay.
Well, I mean, hey, that's me now. But so fast forward, and I'm like, I'll watch, I'll watch. So I go down to like little conference hall, and the DM Josh, they're explaining like, hey. So yeah, this is Dungeons and Dragons. You can basically play, you can do practically whatever you want. You can be and I say this in one of my first ever videos, but you can be a Viking. You can be you can literally be Link from Legend of Zelda. You can be a stalwart paladin warrior who friggin' smites people in the name of, I don't know, the pie god, whatever, go crazy. And I was like, wait, hold on. You can be anything that you want and do anything.
Yes.
I see the character creation, like how they're doing everything, and I'm like, all right. I slammed the table. I'm like, all right, let me in. I want to see this. Tell me more. I'm in. And
give it to me.
I don't know. It was just like some sort of creative switch. Maybe it was friggin' the neurodivergence in me. I don't know. But just something sort of flipped in me, and I was like, I had to like see what this thing was about because I had never heard anything like it before. Right. And I had to get into it, and here we are. Right, so, and that's just because I tried something new,
Right, and that's usually the case. Sometimes, I'm a big 4 EP person. Don't at me, but I love 5e. 5e is still my baby, but I'm a big. I started with. Let me rephrase that. I started with 3.5. Got a
Mhm.
lot of like your girl, and then 4e came out. I was like, oh, this is easier. I like this, and then 5e came out, and I was like, oh, this is much easier. I love this, So, but did the beginning of all of this? Welcome, thank you for the swallow. Did the beginning of all this of that one day of being bored start the mission of Project Aurora?
Um, hmm. That's a good question. Did that realistically start the mission? I would say technically it's the catalyst, but it
Mm-hmm.
didn't necessarily start the mission for it. I
Okay.
would say that first game of D&D, it had a huge impact on me, and I think that's for a lot of people to some degree. Maybe, maybe not.
Right.
At least for me, it was a way to express myself and be creative on a weekly basis, and just also hang out with my friends,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and just get to know them a little bit more and like what they're into and all that sort of stuff. And I had never really felt. I mean, sure, I fall in and out of love with differing sort of like hobbies and whatnot, but for D
Mm-hmm.
and D, I never like really was super adamant about something where I have to like wait a week to
Right.
finally play something, and I'm
Yeah.
like throughout Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, or I'm only thinking about this, or like
Right.
it's sitting there in the back of my mind rent free. There wasn't anything like it,
Right.
and that bit of commitment, that bit of engagement was something special. And heading into like 2020, when I
Mm-hmm.
played D&D for a long while,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of spark was sort of missing, and I knew a lot of people in general, they hadn't necessarily felt something like that. Now
Right.
granted, it could be with video games, it could be with D&D, but I think D&D is a little bit more special with that creative expression. And
Yes.
I just want, at the very least, people like me, whether they're super nerdy or whether they're more so a little bit shy and in their kind of bubble, and they're a little bit afraid or they don't know how to step out of the bubble, I
Mm-hmm.
wanted them to at least maybe use D&D as that little stepping stone to get there, right?
Right. Right. So, what would you say is the mission of Project Aurora then? Like, what is the actual? What is the purpose of Project Aurora?
Sure. I would say the mission of Project Aurora is kind of like I was saying. So fast forward when the pandemic hit,
Mm-hmm.
everybody's like locked away.
Right.
Everybody is kind of like all their D&D games that you used to play, they're gone pretty
Right.
much. People are
Yeah.
trying to play online, but it's not the same.
Right.
And there's this sort of feeling of, for a lot of people, loneliness, sometimes even hopelessness, to be
Yeah.
fair, depending
Yeah.
on, everything that's going on in the crazy world. And Project Aurora's mission was to basically combat the effects that happened in the pandemic
Mm-hmm.
and figure out a way to make, or to bring the game of Dungeons and Dragons, just TTRPGs in general,
Mm-hmm.
to practically anyone and everyone who hadn't played it before or who's maybe interested in it, and they want to reconnect with their friends, make more friends,
Mm-hmm.
possibly just have a creative outlet, show or be able to show and express themselves without necessarily feeling judged and having to kind of hide behind a mask of
Yeah.
who you actually are. And again, in the hopes of maybe it just changing their life, even if it
Mm-hmm.
was just a simple moment of you killing a dragon and feeling like a friggin', can I curse, like an absolute badass or
Yep,
whatever.
you can
Yeah,
totally
okay.
curse. Listen, this is an
Cool, cool,
18
cool.
plus stream.
All
I
right, cool, cool,
swear
cool.
occasionally like a sailor for no particular reason. It
Okay.
just happens like Tourette's. It's very, very
Oh man, all
weird.
right.
Um,
Again, wrestling in high school will do that to you, so so yeah, just again, just make I guess the TLDR is really just make the craziest, the wackiest, the most
mhm,
fun,
mhm.
and most memorable and badass game of Dungeons and Dragons possible.
Right.
That's what Project Aurora is trying to do in a nutshell. And
Okay.
hopefully you'll be able to make friends, or be able to reconnect with friends in the process.
You know, I like that. I like that idea. I like the idea of bringing people together and like giving them something to like hang on to, especially when things were happening that were not the greatest time for anyone. So, but here's a question: What
Yeah.
when Project Aurora was happening, was it like a lightning strike? Was that the inspiration? Did it just pop into your head one day, or was it a build up over time? You're like, this is a bunch of ideas that came together. What was the inspiration? How did it start?
I think it actually was kind of like a bolt of inspiration a little bit.
Mm.
I was a lot of a lot of my hobbies and stuff, they typically happen because I get bored one day. And
You sound a lot like me. Like I'm bored. Let's go do something.
Yeah, you know, so I got really bored because I was just staring at the wall because there's nothing literally to do during the
Mm,
pandemic. And I think it was a little, no, it was a little bit before when Critical Role kind of, or maybe it was either before or after.
mhm.
I think it was after Critical Role announced that, hey, yo, we are going to stop running the games and stuff until, like, you know, we get this whole situation figured out.
Right.
And for me, granted, I watched it. I wasn't like super, super attached to it, but
Right.
still, it was that moment of like, dang, everything around,
It's stopping.
everything is stopping.
Yes.
And
Yes.
campaign wise, you know, at this point I've played in like 2 or 3 campaigns, but I guess to continue. So yeah, everything's sort of ending and stuff. And a lot of the campaigns, you know, you've been getting attached to this character for like
Yes.
2, 3 months, and now their story is just over.
Right.
And that sucks. So I literally, it just came to one simple question of,
Mhm.
well, why? Why
Right.
does it have to necessarily end? Why does your journey have to be just something that happened and you know it's gonna be forgotten practically forever?
Right. Right.
And I thought that was stupid. So I was like, literally, I was so like kind of irritated. Like, that is the way how the game has to be played. No,
Mhm.
it shouldn't. There's no stupid freaking way.
Right.
So I was like, okay, well, how would we make something where you remember, or when you look back at all the memories that you had in
Mhm.
D&D, you don't look at them as like, oh man, I wish I could have did this, or I wish I could have did that.
Right.
Instead, it's like, dude, that was freaking wild. I love that. Like, man, that was freaking sick.
Right.
And on top of that, something that is a catalyst that affects other things in the future.
Mm.
Like, so when we're thinking about these moments that happened like 10 years ago,
Mhm.
you know the exact seed and plot of where it came from in the first place. And I really, really love like Marvel, MCU, and all that sort of stuff. And
Right.
that helped out a ton. And I was like, why can't we do that in D&D? Like,
Okay.
why can't we?
Okay.
And granted, I always say this: living universes and stuff, they've like, you know, interconnected things in
Mhm,
games.
mhm.
They've been done for years. I've never said that Project Aurora is the first one or the only one or anything
Right.
like that.
Right.
But I want to do something where at least me and my friends, we could do it at least from our own end, because
Mhm.
joining another giant living universe seemed practically impossible. And I also
Right.
wanted to play people who are into the same stuff as me, right?
Right.
Um, so yeah, I started streaming, and or not streaming, but I started getting a couple of people. I remember pitching a whole PowerPoint presentation
Oh
of,
wow.
yeah, I was really this
Wow.
I can tell I was into D&D. I gotta find it or whatever. But this is where I came up with like things as crazy as like, okay, here's things about echoes and
Mhm.
souls and spirits and creativity and all this other stuff. And I pitched this PowerPoint presentation in like this sort of business attire suit. It's so ridiculous.
Right.
These are to my friends, by the way.
Mhm.
And I'm like, do you want to join Project Aurora? And they're like, I have some concerns. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right. I guess I'll return this suit that I got from freaking, I don't know,
Thank you
Temu
for
or
hurting
the
my
equivalent.
feelings.
But yeah, and then not jokes aside, yeah, we were just sort of talking shop,
Mhm.
and then we eventually started the beginnings of Project Aurora with those set of friends. And obviously, not all of them are necessarily in Project Aurora anymore, and that's perfectly fine. But that's not necessarily the purpose. That's not the point. The point
Right.
is that whether you've left or whether you're still here, your
Mhm.
actions still have consequences, and your legacy is practically almost forever. You know,
Right. Right.
that's the point of it.
Oh, that's that the legacy. I like the legacy part. I love the legacy part. Like I follow. Like I said, I'm in your channel a lot. I lurk a great deal in a lot of people's channels. I did it. I let Scarlet64, who is another content creator, know
Yeah.
that I lurk at her channel. She's like, "What?" Like, "Oh, I look at people's channels. Don't worry about it. It's fine." So you tout Project Aurora as an MMO, or like, and
Yeah.
how many of those are going right now in Project Aurora?
What, what do you mean, like?
How many
yeah.
worlds are actually going in Project Aurora? How many people are actually playing that are interconnected in this project?
I guess for like a total of like how many people or like players have played since joining, I think it's roughly around 400 or so characters and players.
400 people.
I think that's that's a little bit of a high ball. I'll say, to be fair, at least like 300 to 400, at least 300. And this is over the course of many years. Like with the West Marshes, when we started like going into like, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself with the story, but like we went into alpha, like the equivalent of an alpha in 2023, and a lot of the people in the chat, they may have seen a video from TikTok like, hey, join this crazy wacky thing.
Right.
That's when a lot of people really started jumping into Aurora and stuff. But there were still like a good 100 or 150 or 200 people who had joined, or about 100 or so realistically, who had played in Aurora beforehand, you know?
Okay.
So
but currently, would you say it's like, it's the same amount, or does it fluctuate a lot between like about 100 and like 200, or?
It fluctuates. I wanted to more so take it back. Like I think halfway through January. This is also because this, I would say more of like around April. No, about May. Yeah, about May. I wanted to take it back from more so just promoting, and marketing just the heck out of Aurora, because I wanted to make sure to get or try to focus on a lot of the issues or the more so nuances that I didn't necessarily think of when we finally like opened it up to the public, and now hundreds of people that I don't necessarily know are now playing in it. Because originally it was just people who joined from Twitch or just friends of friends and stuff like that. But when we uploaded TikTok videos, this is just Joe Schmo jumping into who's never heard anything about Aurora until this random freaking black guy just said, hey, you want to join Aurora? Cool, hop on in, right? So yeah, once we figured out all those sort of problems, I wanted to stop marketing it as much and just focus on making it right, and just figuring out how can I just make this as cool as possible and just make it worth it. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, we do charge money for Project Aurora, and that is, there's plenty of reasons for that. I can talk more about that later, but and I want to at least make it worth it, or worth the price that the players are paying, because I always want to make it worth it if they're spending their time and busy days and stuff. But now if they're paying money, come on now, you gotta make it.
You gotta make this work.
Yeah, and I've said this before, we don't get everything right. We're not perfect. We're learning. We're, again, 23-year-old trying to figure out, and just really with the mission of just showing people like what can D&D look like when it's taken from a professional standpoint, or really trying to nail it and do as much as you can, right? Right. But you got to live and learn, and that's the journey, right?
I get it. So how do you touched upon it a little bit, but how do you keep, with all these people coming from TikTok and people who are not necessarily in your friend group, how do you keep these worlds alive? Or do they stay alive for long? Do these worlds implode, explode? Do these worlds die?
Boom.
Bye-bye, world.
I Thanos snap them whenever I'm bored. No. Oh boy, so how do we keep it alive? I guess, is the question like, how do I keep myself sane and running to like manage all this sort of stuff?
That is one question we will get to, but more along the lines of within the Aurora universe, if a group of people are playing and they decide to, I don't know, World War their planet.
It's happened. It
hasn't really.
Well, they basically made a giant revolution in one of the continents, and to this day, that revolution technically is still going on. But that started like IRL. That started 2019, like February, about February 2019, and it's still going. And people are making people to this day are making characters based from that place, and like dealing or based off of the ramifications of what's happened in the past.
Really?
Which is just an insane concept to me, but I don't know, it's crazy.
So
yeah,
okay,
go ahead.
Hang on.
I know I went on a tangent.
No, it's not a tangent.
I'm sorry.
I need to know. So this world imploded on itself, or they did whatever they did to destroy the world, but it's having far-reaching consequences to other universes now?
Well, okay. Oh man, I gotta like regulate. How do I explain this stuff? So let's start small, and then hopefully, if I remember, I'll go big. Okay. So with Project Aurora, it's all contained. At least right now, it's currently contained to one singular planet, being the high fantasy planet Tahiri, and that is where 97% of the player base typically, well, I wouldn't say 97, but a majority of the player base
Okay.
takes has their actual sessions.
Mhm.
And then we have the Gardens of Creation people, shout out to GOC. And we have all those people who actually go and adventure to the plane of water, the other
Mhm.
different planets, the astral sea, and they become space pirates, whatever.
Right.
But the main point is that everybody is either playing in a West Marches style game, and if you don't
Okay.
know West Marches, the closest equivalent to it is kind of like an adventurers league where you're playing in different one shots or small mini campaigns
Gotcha.
with
Okay.
an assortment of people every single week, right?
Okay.
That's
Okay.
that's West Marches like in the simplest way possible, and I'm not doing it justice, but for explanation, right?
Right. Right.
And while you sort of play in those different groups and you do these, you have these ramifications and consequences,
Mhm.
you may also swap DMs from time to time based off
Oh.
of who's just running the quest. So we have teams of DMs, or like literally a staff per region of the world, who focuses on keeping the continuity, making sure your
Mhm.
actions actually matter. And if you like kill the king in one area, well,
Mhm.
the other places in the world need to know that you killed the king.
Right.
And those actions will have consequences, not for you but for everyone.
Everybody. Oh wow.
Right.
Oh wow. That's a big
Yeah.
deal. So
And it's convoluted, but we make it work somehow.
I was just about to say, how does this is this continue to work? Like, it's clearly working well if people are constantly in it, in the game. But where did the idea for live audiences to participate happen? Because I see a lot
Yeah.
of times in chat, like, they participate actively in
Mhm.
campaigns. How did that happen?
So I think it was because, well, with D&D, when you watch a stream, it's very difficult, especially now, to like
Yeah.
really sit down, watch a 3 hour sort of thing, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
also on top of that, whenever you ask, hey, do you want to play D&D, that's a lot of commitment, because now you're having to commit 3 hours or 4 hours a week to
Yes.
actually play. So I thought, how do I make it where people can kind of leave an impact or leave their own legacy or whatever
Mhm.
without having to play in the game? Live interaction.
Right.
And that's where I got that from. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm just saying, I've been in the game at least a little bit. I feel like I was one of the first people to actually start doing live interaction on Twitch. I don't care if people take it. By all means, go ahead, do your thing.
I don't care
I feel
what
as
you
if
say.
I was one of the first, but
I am the first. I will be
just
the
saying.
first, and there is no other first but first. That's it.
But I guess the point was, so allowing players, and I always say, you can never, like, unless it's like a charity stream, that's the only like
Mhm.
way you can ever do this.
Okay.
I wanted to make it where you don't pay money, you don't like, it's not a case of like, oh, if I spend dollars or whatever, you can affect the world in XYZ way. I think
Okay.
that's stupid unless it's charity. But
Right.
that's my own personal hot take.
Right.
I wanted it to be where Joe Schmo, who just loves D&D and they really want to get invested in the community, they can affect it. Imagine
Right.
watching Critical Role and you can help your favorite character be a freaking badass, right?
Right.
So that's why I said, okay, well, you can give an inspiration point to a character of your choice or the general overarching team, and who knows, that inspiration point might save the day or save a character, or
Right.
it might just throw a little bit of chaos into the mix, right?
Mhm.
And that's their way of being able to leave their mark on top of many other things of how we have for chat interaction. But that was the long-winded answer of, I do this a lot. I'm a certified yapper. Sorry.
That is fine.
But-
And for a talk show premise, talking is fine. Certified Yapper is what we're looking for. So, that's totally fine. Don't totally go for it.
Yeah,
So
but
with
that's
these
the reason
people,
why.
do you find that people who do the live chat participation eventually cross over into actually paying for Project Aurora and being part of it officially?
Yeah, I would say, and even before like the payment stuff, especially, I would say a majority, hands down, they did. They all were just like, for example, Max Fish, a good friend of mine.
Mhm.
They were one of the first ever followers and stuff, and yeah, they just watched the streams. They hung out all the time, and then I eventually said, "Hey, join the Discord." And then, hey, they eventually played in the game. And fast forward a couple of years, like I think it was a little bit more than a year ago, we literally met in person
Mhm,
and
mhm.
stuff, and we had like our mini Aurora Con and stuff. It was freaking awesome.
Oh,
But
nice.
yeah, but it all starts from really just that little bit of it used to start from that little bit of Twitch interaction.
Mhm,
And to this
mhm.
day, still people, they want to get a little bit of the vibe, and they may check out the streams just before they really want to jump into whatever the heck this
Right.
crazy person is talking about.
So this crazy person, your friends are like cracking me up. I'm trying not to look at chat and laugh while you're talking, but you guys are hilarious. I love it.
That's why I love my community. I know. Oh my gosh, I hate saying I love my community because context. Everybody says I love my community, but like,
Yes. Do they
I
really?
literally hang out with them like every other day in Discord chat for like hours playing Predator, just talking random stuff and whatnot. Like, it's it's freaking awesome. I love them. I really do.
I get it. I totally get it. So,
Mhm.
everyone knows Soldier Boy did it first. Wow.
Oh my god.
Wow. Shots fired. Okay. So look.
All right, big bro DM. All right, okay.
So, how did you find people to DM for our Project Aurora? I know a lot of them are probably your friends, people who you connected with within your community, but how do you actively not only find people to continue to DM, but stay to DM for Project Aurora?
Okay, so I guess for finding DM, it wasn't really anything special, to be fair. It was literally just the same way how we got players. It was just marketing, saying, hey, do you want to join it? And then most of the time, I think this is just a DM thing. DMs will be like, oh, this sounds cool, but do you guys need any DMs? They'll literally offer it to like Aurora and stuff, and that's kind of how they get started. Like Lissa, huge portion in the community, she literally was just another TikToker, and I was like, oh shoot, hey, another content creator. Wow. And she's like, I want a DM, and I was like, cool. Go ahead, jump on in. And that's how I literally met Lissa, and she's like one of a lot of like people's favorite DM in Aurora. It's great. It's even like on a later scale. If you're familiar with Alec the Bard, are you at all or no?
Yes,
yeah,
I am.
He's literally a DM in Project Aurora for like a temporary sort of event type deal. And it was just, I had a video. I see Alec just posting the little eye emoji. I was like, hey, wait, I know you. Get in here. And that's literally how I talked to Alec. And yeah, he's like on my team, and he's getting ready to do a whole little big old event for Aurora. It's gonna be sick. But
that's so cool. So do you find that DMs, especially brand new DMs, are intimidated by the idea and the massiveness, the enormity of Project Aurora?
I imagine very much so.
I mean, look, there's a lot of DMs going. There's like,
like it's too big of a concept. Well, like from face value, because if you're promoting like, oh yeah, this is giant big universe and everything can have ramifications, that's freaking terrifying and like has anxiety written all over it. Like I get it. I get it. And a lot of the time, like pretty much almost all the time, I have to be like, dude, you'll be okay.
Right.
You're not going to cause the end of the universe, and if you do, trust me, you have like 15 to 20 other DMs who can help you. And then 2, it'll be sick. It'll be awesome. Don't worry. Breathe. You're gonna DM for this village right now, all right? You just got the village. You don't gotta worry about the planet.
Just don't worry about the planet. Don't worry about imploding anything. Don't worry about breaking anything. You're not gonna break anything, I think a lot of people, like, I know when I first started DMing, like, for money, professionally, as per se, the first time walking into a venue and like there's like 6 or 7 people and like looking at you like, what do we do? You're like, roll a D20, I think.
I think.
Like, so I get it. But do you have with an application process? Do they have to go through like a orientation to be a DM? How does that work?
Oh man, I certified yapper. I'm like thinking I want to tell you the beginning and the end. I'll try to make it really, like, extremely fast. Beginning, oh gosh, January 2023 was a wild time in Aurora. Let me tell you. For anybody who's been in like Aurora since the very, very beginning, at least when we went into Alpha, you know. But we had, oh my gosh, we had a Google form, and it was just you sign up, and we had, this was just for players, 1,491 players that all signed up, and this was
so hold on, hang on. How many players?
I can look it up. It's over like
Over
1,491 players who just were
Jesus.
interested in playing. This wasn't even DMing. This was just they were interested in Project Aurora and they wanted to get into it somehow. And this is
Okay.
like after me DMing a game. So like 6 o'clock game starts. 11 o'clock at night. It's at least at like 300 applications. I'm not even making this. I'm not making this up.
Jeez.
So DM wise, thank God it was a lot lower. It was like 50. Thank goodness. But still, it was just a case of, all right, on this Google form, you seem like a cool person. You seem like a cool person. You put like 3 words you're not getting in, and that's it, right? It was the wild, wild west.
Wow. Knighted said it was 1,300 applications around the time that I got accepted as a player.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It's. Oh my
Wow.
gosh. I don't remember the exact number, but yeah, Ed was there. So and Ed talks about this all the time. It is like completely insane to think about how Aurora could have changed if I just didn't even see Ed's application out of those like 1,300 people, right?
Right.
Because he's a huge part of the like community, and
Right.
straight up, he couldn't have just not been here because we didn't get to it, bro. Like that's just the end of it.
Like,
Yeah.
just luck of the draw. So I have to ask this. Like, Maddie's right. It's an unfathomable number. Welcome, Maddie, one of my mods. I love you. That's an unfathomable number. How did you get through 1,300 applications?
I
Like-
literally don't remember. So like, here's what happened. Because I was originally for Project Aurora. I said, all right, here's what we're gonna do. It's gonna be 25 players. We're gonna DM for 1 continent. But if for whatever stupid reason this thing blows up, we're gonna cap it at 75 players, and we're gonna do 3 continents. It's gonna be 5 DMs per continent. So maximum is gonna be 15.
Okay.
And as soon as I see like 500 applicants, I'm like, oh shit. Okay.
Crap.
Okay, all right. How are we gonna do this? So I'm like hiring like my DMs, and I'm like, okay, look, y'all, Raven, Matt, these are like my friends at the time or whatever. Like, look, we got some applications to get through, bro. I need your help. And we're just like all just trying to brute force through this,
Right.
messaging people on Discord, getting flagged by Discord for spamming people, like spam messaging as
Right.
if we're bots. Like, it's freaking stupid.
Oh my god.
But now, the good news is it's about 2% better.
Oh, okay.
It's at least 2%. Nah,
2%
it's
is
loads better. We have
Okay.
an automated application process, and this
Okay.
is all like my staff teams. They keep me freaking sane. Like, shout out to the tech support team, shout out to HR, shout out to literally every single staff team. They keep me sane.
Right.
So we set up an application process where it's all automated through a Discord bot. We get a notification and a ping. And once we have HR look at it right now, they see like, oh, okay, this is a good person.
Okay.
Now they take, this is for like staff, right? Then they interview said person. We didn't have interviews at the time. I know. Don't get me started. But they have interviews and such, and then they powwow for like an hour or so, and then they accept or deny people from there. But even just that little bit of process is like miles better than you can imagine. Though, hey, bro, let's just figure this out. Let's go.
We're gonna go through these applications and we're gonna make this work.
Like, oh man, I don't like your name. Deny. Like, what kind of mentality is that? It's awful.
Why is your name DM345? I don't like it.
No, get out of here. You should have been a player. Like, what?
So this is gonna be a kind of a question that probably's already been answered, but do you get players volunteering to play, like saying I'll just be a player, or is it completely paid now?
I guess what do you mean by that? And I can answer that a little bit better.
How do you like the original question was how do you get players to volunteer to play with lives being so busy? Like you have your set players, people who have applied. Do you get people who like try to jump in as volunteers? Do you get people who like kind of just like how does that happen? What about people who just don't want to like necessarily do an application process, but kind of just go, can I play type of thing?
Well, oh man, that is that question could have layers and layers and layers on like the theory and all that other stuff. I would say a lot of okay, so I could tackle this from so many ways. I'm gonna try my best, but from what I've understood after playing for years and years, and I played a lot of D&D games. Like,
Right.
people don't really understand like how many games I really played, despite only playing for 5 years. Because I was
Okay.
DMing 4 games a week, playing into we're actually running 5 games a week at a time, playing into, and then also playing in a home game as well.
Oh wow.
So that's just a
okay.
lot of exposure to D&D in general. I
Right.
learned a lot very fast. And what I learned is that it really is the players at the table, including the DM,
Yes.
that really make or break the game.
Yes.
And from what I've seen personally, not saying this is fact, this is just from my experience, the more engaged and invested the players are into the game, typically, the
Right.
better it is.
Mhm.
Not saying that you're a bad player if you like, you just are just here for a beer and popcorn type of game.
Right.
Not at all. Like, not in the least bit. But this is at least from all, like, from what I've seen in my experience. So we have the application process specifically as like a small vetting process of like, hey, you are at least engaged or interested enough to type in some things for
Right.
10 minutes, right?
Mhm.
And wait, compared to, oh, I think I kind of want to play. Oh, I don't really actually want to play, because those would, not all the time, but typically those would be the people who flake out from sessions, they don't show up, and then that's how the game kind of gets canceled. Right. So that's like our first bit of vetting and stuff like that. And then also, I have to like really go further in depth with that, but I'm not going to do it right now. When you also add even another thing with payment, when we step into the professional GMing world, that's another sort of barrier of entry to really make sure, like, hey, are you committed? Are you engaged? Do you really want to make this experience like as best as it is for everyone at the game table, so everyone can enjoy it, and you even more so, right? So that's why I say we don't really get people who are like, oh, I kind of want to play, but actually don't. We don't really accept those people, because you got to at least apply, right? You got to at least do that.
I mean, fair. I mean, that makes sense, because same thing with my website. Like, you have to commit. Like, if you want me to do a campaign, you have to commit to three sessions. That does not include session 0. So, it doesn't include session 0. Like, we need to commit to 3. If I'm going to do a campaign for you, and we're going to be there until whatever level, I need a commitment, do you require your players to have a good deal of experience? Do you welcome beginners? Do you welcome people who are like, I've never done this before, but I want to try, I want to do it, I'm going to do the application, I want to do this thing, but I want to do D&D?
No, we do not accept you unless you have played Dungeons and Dragons since 2nd edition, and you have read the 5th edition handbook from back to back, cover to cover. I'm kidding. I know people like that.
Right.
Obviously, they name names, but there are people like that. Absolutely freaking not, dude.
Yeah.
Like, my mission again is to like show people the world of Dungeons and Dragons. It's kind of counterintuitive to be like, oh, you need to play Dungeons and Dragons before you can learn about it. That makes no sense, right? So yeah, you can be literally any experience level. And then the cool thing about it is I actually love DMing for people who are completely new, or like maybe they played for like a month or two.
That's
I love DMing for those people more, fun fact, compared to the people who've played for like 3 or 4 years, because it's just that it really does, it feels reminiscent to when you first started playing as a a D&D player. It's just like, wow, I can do really anything. That's cool.
It's the weirdest feeling, because they always bring me back to when they're brand new. They bring me back to that like, I remember that, like, I could do that, like I could actually jump on the giant's head and take my axe and slam my axe into his brain.
It's like, wow, wait, is there a mechanic for it? No, you just do it.
Just do
Whoa!
it. Yeah, their mind is blown. I'm like, that looks so much fun. The game
it's like, I can't do this in Baldur's Gate. This is crazy.
Exactly.
It's like, yeah, I know. That's why I like it.
Exactly. Doe-eyed players are the best. They are, exactly. I love that, doe-eyed players. So, so obviously you've talked about Project Aurora being a paid site, a paid to play type of thing. Your chat has been saying you're the best boss. So, is this a full-time gig?
I don't have my Nintendo ninjas pointing them, having them at gunpoint. So, yeah, I am the best boss.
You are exactly. He's the best boss. We love him.
I try my best, but I'm terrible. Oh, man.
Is this a full-time gig for you, and did you plan on it being a full-time endeavor when you started all of this?
Oh boy. To answer the first question, it is a full-time gig. But I do a lot of things full-time. Like seriously, the Aurora is full time, but I also am in college technically still. And I am a full time student as well, and then I also do content creation. That's more like I do it when I can, right? So I do like 3 major things and try to have a social life outside of it. And as you can imagine, that's difficult.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do it full time and such.
Okay. So, was this the plan for this to be your career choice as per se? Was this the full time endeavor to be Project Aurora?
All
Plus
right,
life?
let's talk about this. If you're in chat or if you're listening to the VOD of this or whatever, and you want to be a professional DM, listen up. This is probably for you. So, the answer is, did Sensei always want to be a professional DM? Drum roll. Hell no. Absolutely freaking not. What? No, not at all. From the freaking imposter syndrome to literally like the fear of like charging people for D&D money and all this. Like, there's so many different things.
Yes.
Like, okay.
Not knowing what to charge.
And oh my gosh, and like no one really even knows like how professional DMing works.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. So when it comes to, we'll talk about, let's say, like briefly my story. I'll get a little bit personal, but obviously, you know, but
Totally.
so when it came to DMing for Project Aurora, their story is basically, I was love Mama Mayhem, great woman.
Yes.
That's my mom. That's what we call her. But wake up pandemic, or more so when it's kind of like getting towards the edge of like it's kind of we're coming out of it, but still like in it. She says, "Hey, all right, listen up, Key. You are sitting around here playing video games. You're using up all the water, the light bills, and all this stuff. You gotta start paying some bills, goddammit." I'm like, okay, you got it. I'm just trying to get out of school, dude.
Stop yelling at me.
So, she says, basically, she puts an ultimatum, and she's like, "Hey, you need to get a job, and start paying some bills."
Okay.
Well, no, that's it. Yeah, you need to get a job and start paying some bills. Yeah, that's literally it. Can't argue with mom. But I have to come to the fork in the road, the decision of, I can basically, because I'm running 3 or 4 campaigns at the time and also playing in some, I can go back to my original job where I was working with I just call him my stepdad or whatever, right? And I can go work with him in a factory and pretty much go back into the point where I was the most depressed probably in my life of just constant, I'm serious, like literally constant just the same thing of like doing the same thing over and over and over again, not even being able to listen to music, and just like, obviously there's 10,000 way harder jobs or whatever, but like, it's literally, it was a case of I woke up at 4 in the morning, I would work until 6 p.m., drive home for an hour or so at 7, be able to maybe play a game of Paragon.
Oh wow.
If maybe even that, go to bed and do the same thing every single day.
Oh god.
And yeah, it was something.
Yeah.
So it was basically, I can go back and do that and cancel all of my campaigns, the thing that's sort of keeping me sane, or hear me out, I could try to, I've heard about it before. I've seen an article about it.
Right.
Maybe I could do this D&D thing, but get paid for it. And I was like, I want to do that one, but I have no idea how the hell to start. I start Googling stuff. I do as much research as I can, because like, you know, backed into a corner, I got to figure out something. Is this even possible? Is this real?
Right.
I look it up. There's literally nothing about it. There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. And I try to, like, I'm looking at YouTube videos. I could literally find them to this day. And I remember freaking love the guy, Pro DM Joey. Like, his name is literally Pro DM Joey.
Okay.
All the love to him. He shows me I reach out to him and I'm like, dude, you gotta tell me, like, what the hell are you doing to like do this thing professionally or whatever. And he sits me down. He tells me just like the general basics of it. It wasn't as complicated as I thought it was.
Right.
And then I even sit into a session 0. He's showing like how the difference in style, like from really elevating the game from just a casual standpoint to more of a professional, and kind of taking it more of like I don't want to say businessy approach, but more of just like more of a commitment to making sure the game is as great as it can be for the players, right?
Right.
And I'd never seen anything like that before. It's typical. The typical game I was used to is the junkyard D&D,
Yes.
beer and popcorn.
Yep.
Bro, we're fighting Shrek, while the dragon mini is actually like a plushie that you got from an arcade machine.
Yeah.
That's the D&D I was used to, right? This was like wild to me, and it was the scary, like it's one of the scariest moments in like for DMing professionally. I was like, because and if you can do this, if you can avoid it, do it.
Right.
This is my advice from my background.
Okay.
I had to go to my players and basically said, hey, yo, either the campaign's canceled or you got to pay to play in it.
Right.
You know, and at this point, you've been playing this for months and months
right.
and stuff. And it's like, yo, what do you mean I got to pay for this freaking crap? What?
It's work.
Yeah. And oh my God. I talked about this in the stream the other day. I was like, all right, just at least pay for, the books at the very least.
Right.
It's going to be $7 a month, by the way. And if you're a professional DM, you know that is a topic.
Yes.
It's $7 a month to play, or $10. I don't remember what it was. And there we go. It'll be great. If you don't know, like $7 a month is like, imagine getting basically paid. I think we did the math. It's like 30 cents an hour or something like that.
That's pretty much exactly what it is. Like it took me a while when I first started. And just so you guys know, please go to my website because things are drying up a little bit. I don't like it. When I first started, I had to make a decision on what I was worth, and it felt weird to say $20 an hour or $20 per person per hour, and it was just like, that feels weird. And I thought about it. I was like, well, let's think about this. I also work for the New York City Fire Department. I'm a paramedic, so I get paid a certain amount of hours to do that thing. And there's a skill level to it. There's a skill level to D&D too. So I should get paid that. So it took me a little bit to kind of correlate that this is DMing is work. Between writing and minis and researching and character creation and NPC creation, it's a ton of work, So $7 a month? You're generous.
Granted, it didn't last that long. I did it for like 3 months, and then Sensei, I upped it to, I think it was like $15 a session or 20.
Okay,
or
that's better.
No, it was what was it? It was $40 a month. Yeah, I changed it to $40 a month, and around that point was when I was able to. Granted, this was like, I'm a guy, so I could probably get away with it. It was more of like, all right, I'm going to bunk with my friends, like 4 other roommates and stuff, and I'm going to commit like $500 a month to pay for rent, and I'm gonna barely be able to feed myself, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be wonderful, by the way. I'll have enough money for other things, like if a rainy day happens or if someone quits. Yeah, it'll be great. No issues with this.
No issue whatsoever.
And that was around the time I was able to do it like full time ish, and then move out of my mom's house eventually.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it was shortly after that. But even then, like 40, like if we're really looking at it from an economic standpoint, I know some people don't really care too much about business, but if you do, then ask it in the chat. I'll talk all about it. But even then, like $40 a month is still like, if you do the hours, it ain't much.
It's not much.
It's probably less than minimum wage still.
And if you live in a major city, it's definitely not a lot.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
if I think like if you live in a rural area or something, it may be okay, but if you live in a major city, good luck with that $40 a month, So, let's get back to Project Aurora a little bit.
Sure.
The artwork for Project Aurora, like for Aurora, is absolutely phenomenal. Like I've looked at it and I've put it in like little parts of my background. Sometimes it's beautiful. Do you guys have an exclusive artist? Do you have artists that donate your work? Like, how did you get that artwork too?
All right, first thing before I do anything, special shout out to our artists, Madraw, Finn, Winter Lord, Logan, Total Art Freak, Laura, Disco Dracula. I'm probably missing like 30 or a lot of other artists, but if you have ever done art for Project Aurora, you guys are freaking rock stars. you literally are the individuals who take what's in people's minds and turn it into a reality, and just again, you make it real and
Okay.
give that connection to players that isn't really typical. So again, special shout out to all the artists who have ever done anything in
Right.
Project Aurora, right? So shout out aside, we have a dedicated art team now. It's only like three people at the moment.
Okay.
But we've always had it where it's just people make art or fan art of the sessions. They just make, they just like to doodle or whatever,
Right.
and they'll just post it. And it's awesome because it really just gets to show, or it's another portion of like the legacy leaving aspect of, even if it's just a stupid meme or whatever, right? Or like just a joke fan art thing. It really does show like, yeah, that happened. Oh man, I remember when freaking I'm trying to think. I remember when we we fought the not the intellect devourer, the gibbering mouther or whatever, and we beat the dog crap out of it. And Sensei thought it was going to be a crazy raid boss type deal, but we beat it with no weapons at level 1. Haha. And like it's I have to find the art for it. It's hilarious and adorable, and like it's just those little moments, like having an artist bring that to life, it really does make it feel real and just allow you to sort of reminisce about those moments that, hey, you did that at the end of the day, right?
So are those artists players as well, or do they
Most
just
of them
monitor...
are, but not all of them.
Okay, so they do just pretty much monitor the different games and just come up with the artwork that way?
So like, yeah, so like for our artist team, like they technically are players. They can join in we let them play for free. Like any staff member in Project Aurora, they get to play for free.
Okay.
And stuff. But yeah, our artists now, they mainly, because they don't have enough time, they're doing their own IRL stuff. So it is what it is. But
yeah, I get it. So let's back a little bit away from Project Aurora. Let's go back to, let's talk about streaming a little bit.
Okay.
When you first started streaming, how did you overcome that anxiety and fear of being in front of the camera, or was it an actual thing for you? Like how did you get past that stumbling block, if it was a stumbling block?
I don't ever like lying or whatever on like things. It doesn't really serve anybody.
Right.
So for me, I guess I'm one of the rare cases that it was actually kind of natural to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Oh boy, good for you, Sensei. I know, but I'm not gonna lie to you and say like, oh, I was like super scared and shy. But there is a nuance to it, or there's another portion to it. I had started doing YouTube when I was around 7 or 9, to be fair.
Wow.
Granted, I wasn't like, because remember, like I said, with the whole Minecraft thing, like at first I started doing stop motion animation. So like I would have like my little stupid goofy wrestling action figures, and I would like, take a picture of them, move them a little bit, take another picture, and then play it back so it looks like, it was natural, right?
Right.
And then I eventually transitioned to, hey, my name is Sensei Suplex, I'm a Let's Player. When I was like 9 or 10 or whatever the heck, trying to emulate all the other YouTubers and stuff.
Right.
So I had kind of got used to it by then. So then when I transitioned to streaming and stuff, even though I was an introvert at the time when I first started like streaming in 2016, that was like the springboard for when 2020 happened, and I really started taking content creation seriously.
Right.
It was just like, okay, whatever. I'm just doing what I've been doing for almost half my life, like since I was 7. It wasn't any like crazy thing, but editing. Oh boy, editing was the one to get over, because I had to hear my voice and I'm like, I sound like that? You.
Oh God. Oh, I know that feeling. I hate it so much.
Yeah, like, oh gosh, that's the biggest band-aid to rip off.
Oh, it's so bad.
If you've done it, if you've tried to get into video making, you know. Oh, you know.
It hurts your whole entire spirit. Like your soul is hurting a little bit. Every time you open it, you go, I don't sound like that. I know I don't. But
it's like, bro, why do people listen to me? Ew.
Like, I sound like I have a cold. This is not how I sound. Don't laugh at me.
Yep. So like that was like the kind of like the main hurdle for me, if anything.
So do you find that having it be so natural that and having which I consider, in my opinion, a successful project going, that is ongoing, that's been like building more and more every day, do you find that you have like what I would say like imposter syndrome or anxiety based off the growth of Project Aurora, or just off of streaming in general?
Well, considering I was getting ready to answer, so answer that I don't feel as if I'm that successful with it really yet. I would
Mm.
say, yeah, there's the imposter syndrome.
There it
Yeah, like
is.
I think a lot of the time, whether you're a DM, whether you're a content creator, practically any creative in
Mm.
general, I think, yeah, if you're any creative in general, you are almost always your biggest critic.
Yes.
And whenever people sort of see, okay, this is all the things that you have, like even for example, a good or a friend of mine, they were a player, they're like, oh my gosh, you have like an HRT, this is, you have a
Yeah.
QC team, like this is so professional. And I'm like,
Right.
yeah, it sure is. And then
It's-
I'm looking behind the curtains, I'm like, everything's on fire. Yeah, it sure is. Like staff
it
knows.
runs great.
Staff knows.
It runs so smoothly. I never have a problem ever at all.
No, it's more of like, bro, I barely know what I'm doing. I'm trying my best. Rainbows in the chat. They're trying to like freaking. They're trying to keep me sane and like talk me off the ledge every week. And I'm like, I'm trying, man. I'm trying. Like it's rough, you know. It's rough.
Maddie
But-
knows. She knows exactly what she knows. Maddie's one of my mods. She knows that I'm on a regular basis going, why? Everything's fine. How are you today? Welcome to the stream. God damn. Okay.
Yeah, you know. So like, I don't know. I think it's weird to say. For like, okay, I know I said I don't feel successful, but at the same time,
Mhm.
I am very much, and I mean like extremely aware of the opportunity that I've been given,
Mhm.
like the almost like the bit of the luck for what I've been able to sort of accomplish, and like how I was able to sort of take action on certain things to get things to where I am.
Right.
A lot of people would never have that opportunity. For example, and this isn't to necessarily like I hate the word term flexing, but this is the easiest, like insert a better word here, right?
Right.
I know people basically can't say that, hey, I do D&D full time or whatever. Not any 99% of people can't say it, and if they could, they would love to do it.
Right.
People can't say, oh, I actually do what I love for a living. You can't, most people don't say that.
Right.
Most people will say that, hey, I can't have posters of my D&D characters in the background or whatever and be a super
Mhm.
cool streamer.
Right.
But I say this because I'm so aware of it, I kind of feel like an obligation, a good obligation, right?
Mhm.
To pay it forward and to really make sure that this thing succeeds and I can actually accomplish the mission that
Right.
I'm trying to set out with the rest of the team, you know? And I don't know, it's weird. So like I'm trying to work through it. There's never going, my goal isn't necessarily like a goal that can be a number. It's just leave as big of an impact
Right.
on the world before it all sort of like, you know, before
It
pretty much I'm
concludes.
gone, right?
Right.
That
Exactly.
type of deal.
Exactly.
So I'm trying to sort of make the goal or this goal of success, the
Mhm.
action of just, hey, did I show up to run the D&D game and make sure that my players had a great time? Did they laugh? Did they smile? Did they joke around? Did they have fun? Yes. Okay, cool. That's
Right.
what it's all about at the end of the day. All right, fantastic. Let's just keep doing that over and over again and making sure that we can keep doing it.
Right.
And that's like the goal for me at the moment, at the very, very end of the
At
day.
the very
Make
end
sure
of the
people
day.
have fun.
Gotcha. So, do you find that your community keeps you grounded and in the moment every single time? You know, when it feels like you're afloat.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, most definitely. Dude. Holy crap. Like literally just like for example, I mean it does help being like I guess the owner of the server, so people would just jump in because granted that it also can be a backfire because they're like freaking terrified of you
Yeah.
because you're the owner of the server. And I try to like make myself as open as possible, like I'll talk about literally anything. But just being able to jump in the server and then either play video games or just like mute my mic if like I'm having a bad day and just
Right.
like let everybody talk about whatever the heck they're talking about and stuff. It definitely is able to help put things in perspective, not to get a little bit as like sad or like oh or whatever, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, I do look back at it and say, you have at the very least made a community where people who realistically have no right knowing each other,
Right.
but they found one another because they saw this stupid TikTok ad of this cool little universe that you've been making,
Hmm.
and they're here, they're interacting, they're talking, and they're making friends. Like, we've had people, I'm not making this up, I genuinely, like, this is legit, this is real stuff. They have met their girlfriend or their boyfriend, their partner,
Really?
to this day, in because of Project Aurora, and they moved in together and the whole shebang, and they're happy. That is wild. People have literally, they've
And I'm
literally
single.
met their best friend in Aurora, moved, and now they hang out with them all the time. And that is just the most mind-boggling thing. So it's like, if I'm having a bad day, maybe I try to, like, obviously keep myself, do it healthfully, but
Right.
I'm not doing it necessarily for me. I'm doing it more so for them, right? I just want to be able to, like, help them out and, like, change their lives in a positive way as much as possible. And if I did that, then cool, right? That's all it is.
Oh my gosh, you made me. Oh, that's so sweet. I met my best friend here, says Rainbow. Oh my gosh. Manny said Sam would never. What I talked about earlier before we came on stream, Sam would never create an accidental Faraday cage around her modem and router. Hush. So, 1 second, I have a cat here who thinks she's a dog. So,
yeah,
you can lure her with channel points to the stream. As an experienced
your
DM,
channel points, do it now.
Yeah, exactly. As an experienced DM, what advice would you give someone transitioning from player to DM?
Transitioning to player to DM. I'll try to give something that typically people don't really say, but is also practical and actionable. Okay. This may be bits of or multiple things baked into one.
Okay.
So if you are trying to transition from being a player to a DM, I would say at the end of the day, remember why you're doing it.
Right.
We are playing Dungeons and Dragons to have fun and to connect, and just honestly forget about the real world for 3 hours and pretend we're elves.
Yes.
You're gonna have bad sessions. You're gonna wonder whether that plot hook actually was good enough.
Right.
You're gonna wonder why the heck that NPC didn't really stick and land.
Yep.
And honestly, it doesn't freaking matter. What matters is, did you have fun? Did the players have fun? Do they want to continue having fun playing this game?
Right.
And if you can make sure that you do, or you focus on that, and you're able to hit that little mark every session, or at least try to hit it every session, you're doing it. Right. You're winning D&D. You're winning.
You've won.
That's it.
So, okay, I have a redeem here for Sisu, who is, and yes, that's where her name comes. If you like anime, you know where she gets her name from. Stand by for the little chonk who's biting my toe. Come here, chonk. Oh my God, she's so big. Chonk. Here she is. Okay, here's the big chunk of butt.
They're like, what are you doing, human?
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna put her in her thing. There you go. So, there's Sisu in her thing, in her little cat tree, and she'll probably sit there and be a nuisance. Yep. That's
She's gonna jump off. She's like, I don't want to be here. Okay, actually, you're giving me head scratches. Okay, I'll be here.
I'll be here. Okay, so I'll stay. Now I'm gonna fall. Okay. So there's your redeem. So my new kitten, who's 4 months old when I got her, and is now 9 months old.
Give me more.
She's like, what are you doing? Why are you not paying attention to me? I am a cat. What is the balance? She's one of my sweetest. I have two. The other one's a full cat. This one thinks she's a dog.
Yeah.
What is the balance between prep, knowledge, and just kind of winging it as a DM?
Oh man. Oh boy. So this just took a turn. Like a change in or like a change in styles, right?
Yeah.
So there it started. Okay. I'll try to like because I know we have a lot of DMs here who want to try to like eventually go professional or whatever, right? Or they may want a little bit of assistance.
Yes.
So I went from the very, very like super far opposite side of the spectrum of I prep everything to the negative degree of when I was first starting to DM, I literally prepped everything on PowerPoint. Now,
wow,
you might see an issue with that. A PowerPoint is where you go from one slide to the next slide, to the next slide, to the next. You can imagine that probably was a railroad, and you would be absolutely correct. And in fact, one of my horror stories as like a DM that was like for me, what I caused was I remember second session I ever DM'd for, well, like for the campaign. My players, because we got back and they were supposed to go into the forest. Cool.
Okay.
They did not want, or they forgot about that entire plot, and they're like, well, there's boats, we're at a dock, let's just go sail across the entire city. Screw this place, we're out of here. And I was like, that's not on the PowerPoint. Oh crap, oh god, what do I do? Well, okay. You see as the clouds part from the sky, and God himself literally shows himself and says, no, dummy, you're supposed to go this way because the plot is that way. I'm not making this up. He literally did this.
Seriously.
And yeah, they're like, wait, oh yeah, you're right. And they're like, okay, we're gonna go. I don't know how that worked, but
that's awesome.
Hey,
that
man.
is awesome.
No, it was awful.
That is
like,
so funny.
But like, so you know, I went from the heavy sort of like prep everything, like you know, I thought I'm a storyteller type deal, to eventually where I, you know, stopped planning on PowerPoint. Woo, went to Microsoft OneNote. Wow.
Yay.
And I, you know, I want to more so make it where, okay, there are different plot hooks and you can go whichever way point in that you want, blah, 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 blah. Fast forward a little bit. So hills and valleys, right?
Right.
At this point, like I'm getting pretty good at DMing, or at least I think I am, and people are saying that I am. Cool. Okay. And we get to the Soulbound campaign, and burnout is starting. I don't want to say I'm getting burnt out and stuff. And I'm running 4 campaigns, like I said before. Well, and then also 2 kind of mini campaigns at the same time, playing as a player or whatever in 1 or 2 campaigns as well. Yeah, I think there's 2 campaigns as well. And time is of the essence. I have to be efficient. Okay. So I'm starting to ask the Soulbound players like, hey, what do you want to do or what do you want to do for the next session? What do you want to do for the next session? That's like kind of a little cadence or thing. Because I want to make sure players are doing what they actually want to do.
Okay.
But what happened is, it more so felt like, instead of like a dynamic interactive game of D&D, it felt like more of a screen or a play-by-play or kind of like a movie, if you will.
Okay, gotcha.
Right, because like it felt like a movie, but everybody knows what the plot is, and like you as players, you are the actors for the screenplay and stuff like that. Right, so it felt a little bit, or it felt like very, very much railroady, and I didn't know at the time because Burnout Central Sensei Suplex, I'm just trying to like survive and also worry about paying rent, because in fact, professional DMing ain't the most lucrative hobby.
No, it's not.
Just in case you know,
just so
we'll talk about that later.
It will and can dry up. So
yeah, so that ended up happening, and hold on, restart my music. So I end up I rub the players the wrong way, and eventually that campaign gets canceled because I just can't take it with the burnout anymore. It's just I gotta stop. And fast forward about 2 or 3 months later, I start a campaign called Astral Odysseys, and I'm like, you know, I want to get back to how I used to DM. Full on rule of cool, like we're here to make epic badass moments. Let's be badass. And it was a Guardians of the Galaxy based campaign, so it was already jokey in general, right? And I went full balls to the walls rule of cool, where literally I can't I'll go on a whole rabbit hole if I start talking about the mechanics and stuff, so you really feel like a Guardian of the Galaxy. But I go to that sort of opposite side of the spectrum, and since then, after running Soul Strikers, the next campaign, and then Guardians of Creation, I have started to more so go heavy rule of cool, a decent amount of improv, but also making sure to plan certain story beats that some players are maybe engaged into, and then also just more so planning scenarios rather than events or story beats. Scenarios that this is the thing that's happening. How you interact with it. You do it this way. Okay, cool. Gotcha. Here's the next scenario. Or obviously they're stringed together, but you know what I mean from the general premise, right?
Okay. That works. If that works, that works. You know. So
yeah, that's just how I am.
Look, sometimes I get it. Sometimes like when when you first start DMing, you have a tendency to like want to know all the rules, and then these are the rules, we're gonna follow them, and then you end up being railroady, and then eventually you find your rhythm and you find your style. But speaking of style, you exclusively homebrew with your regular homebrew and Project Aurora. When it comes to games, between your personal stuff that isn't Project Aurora and Project Aurora, do you have a favorite between those two?
So all of it's Project Aurora. So
All of it, okay.
all of it's Project Aurora, and that was kind of the beauty of it. At first, I mean, I had some own home games and stuff like that, but what I ended up doing is I just took those characters, like, and I would just basically add them into the Project Aurora universe, because it's not really a reason not to, and then going back to that whole thing of making sure that things feel important and last, right?
Right.
So, yeah, everything I do is PA, basically, unless, like, I show up and play on, like, a stream game for someone else's world.
Right. Okay, I mean, so with that, do you have any regrets or mistakes that you've made as a DM or a player in the past?
Tons.
A bunch.
like, take your pick. We got a whole file folder, like A through Z. Pick a letter, you know? Like, oh man.
Like a bunch. Is there anyone that like sticks out in your head that you wish you could have changed?
So the thing with regret, without getting philosophical or too far, I don't really like to regret much of anything. Granted, I'm human and I do, right?
Right.
But if I was to go back and change it, I wouldn't be where I am today, and that could be for better or for worse.
Right.
I'm happy with where I am right now. I'm obviously trying to get better and stuff like that, but I don't really try to regret too much.
Okay.
But if there's things that I'd be like, oh man, that freaking sucks. Obviously, the whole like the ending of the Soulbound campaign and such, like that obviously like sucks. I really wish they could have like been able to see it to the end and stuff. And it really does make me sad whenever a campaign has to end, especially like when it didn't reach its natural end, you know.
Right.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah. If you had a important life lesson that you've learned from gaming, what would it be?
Important life lesson from gaming. Just D&D in general, as a DM or as a player.
As either as a DM or as a player, or both.
I'll hit it from we're talking about a lot about DMing, so I'm gonna hit it from the player's perspective. I remember there was Witcher 3 is one of my favorite video games of all time.
Yes.
And obviously I won't spoil it because it's still too good of a game to even spoil.
Right.
One of the major sort of takeaways is that a lot of the time in life, we always want to be the main, well, not all the time, but sometimes we can really want to be the main character and then try to be like, this is my story, this is my story, this is my story, and just be the superhero and the freaking, epic guy. Cool.
Right.
But a lot of the time, sometimes it's a group effort. Sometimes it is, you're just helping other individuals sort of tell their story. And I really thought about that for a minute as like from coming to the perspective of a player, because transitioning from a DM, you control everything, I am God, blah blah blah.
Right.
And it really helped shape my play style, where I don't really care whether my character like screws up, gets one, dies. I don't care, dude. Like, I'd be perfectly fine if my character is able to help the other player who's a little bit more shy, and they're able to help them have their own epic moment that lets them fall in love with D&D, right? I don't freaking care if my character gets their time to shine. Who gives a crap? like for example, I was playing with the D20 Deathmatch, awesome creators and Twitch streamers, and the main premise of the campaign was to help a player, because this is the campaign that we signed up for, right? The player, Caustic Phoenix, fantastic individual, freaking love them. It was their grand epic moment where they were fighting off against one of their family members who was evil and stuff like that.
Right.
And I was like, how can I make this a badass moment? This is gonna be super edgy and crazy, but I literally grabbed their their family member because we were trying to attack them and kill them, and my character had a spear, and I literally lodged the spear through them and through me to make sure you will not go anywhere. I will sacrifice myself for this freaking thing. Caustic, take the shot now.
What?
And she did it. Like, I don't care about my characters. They could die left or right.
Oh my god!
Like, super epic, dramatic metal moment or whatever, right?
Oh my god!
I was like, I'm here for it, dude. I said, like, hey, Mud, can I do it? And they're like, freaking hell yeah, that's metal as hell.
That reminds me
Sure.
of my teenage players. Oh my god, they
Oh,
don't
no,
care about
absolutely
their.
not. Oh no, but the reason why I did it was they took the shot, and it was I don't remember exactly. I think they rolled a nat 20 off of it, and it was just that epic sort of story-based moment of that you
Right.
literally could not fake. But the whole point was I wanted to make sure that someone else got the spotlight because I don't
Gotcha.
care if I get the spotlight. It's about everyone else at the game table having a fun time, and I'm just having fun if everybody else is having fun. So I'm easy to please.
That's awesome. That is an awesome lesson. That's amazing. You, wow. I just got the best visual. Like, what?
Like, take the shot.
Oh my
There's a
god.
blood bleeding out.
Maddie said, imagine if you had nat 2'd. If they nat 2'd.
Amen. It'd be like that.
It does, you know. We've
The
been
dice
talking a
beat
lot.
Dyson.
I know, for real. We've talked a lot about D&D, but we haven't talked about the creators of D&D, Wizards of the Coast. Recently, they've, in a lot of people's opinions, essentially sanitized Dungeons and Dragons in an attempt to make it more inclusive. They've changed rules with the feature imbalance they've had. In my opinion, I think it's a massive feature imbalance. They have a 3-spell list class share. They've changed the rogue rules. They seem to try to make it more cohesive, and it's become less cohesive. Do you agree with the direction they are going in, and was it a mistake, and would you have taken it in a different direction?
Oh man. So this is a nuanced sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'll try to answer it the best I can.
Totally, that's totally, yep.
Here's my thing. Hot take. Well, not really hot take. I don't really pay attention to anything that WotC or all of them sort of do. Personally, it doesn't really matter as much to me.
Right.
Here's why. I'll explain. My mission is literally just to show people the game of Dungeons and Dragons in hopes that, again, people will have fun and maybe it'll change their life.
Right.
Whether WotC decides to freaking add more races or change feats and people are upset or whatever about it, to be honest, it doesn't really, like, I'm more so focused on Project Aurora. And like, I also DM for 5e as well, and I literally know nothing about 1D&D. Like, I know absolutely like jack all. Like, they apparently they're doing a VTT. I don't care. Like, I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter.
I don't care.
Oh, does that mean that Basket's gonna have a better game? Oh, it doesn't. Okay, whatever. I don't care. Like, it's so like. Whether even with, like, let's say the whole OGL situation, I'm like so disconnected from, like, I don't do politics, I don't do any of that crap because it doesn't freaking matter to the person who is literally just feeling practically hopeless and they just want something to be able to play with their friends or be able to make friends. It's completely irrelevant to me. Like, I don't care. I don't care in like that regard, if that makes any sense.
No,
I hope people understand where I'm coming from with that, because I know that's a little bit nuanced and such. And if you're a little bit confused on what that means, then by all means just ask me in the chat or just further up and ask me and such. Because I want to make sure people, get it and understand.
I totally get it. Like, for me, it's obviously I interview people. I have to keep up with a lot of like different news and stuff like that. So and I looked into 1D and I was like, oh my god, what did they do? I was like, oh, they did what they did when they went from 3.5 to 4E. Okay, good luck, bye.
I was like, even with the whole like OGL thing or whatever, I remember to this day, we had, so it's January 2023, just a little bit. Everybody's getting accepted, those 1,400 applications or whatever, right? And things are about to go crazy. Wow, it's gonna be awesome. Then OGL thing, and then now we're starting to, instead of getting comments of like, holy crap, this is so cool, this is so awesome, I want to join, blah 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 blah. Then I remember there was a comment of, well, rip this idea, thanks WotC, and stuff like that. And it's like, well,
pump the brakes.
And like, this is a common thing, and it's like, bro, you think I give a freaking rat's ass? I don't care, dude. Like, I literally talk, like, everybody's like, what are we gonna do about the OGL? Everybody's like on fire. Everything's like on fire, like, ah! Like, I literally sit down with the staff team at the time. I'm like, look, y'all, let's have a come to Jesus moment.
Right.
Look, all right, you want me, Sensei, we have to put an announcement out. Okay, fine. Here's what we'll do. A, we're just gonna do our own thing,
Right.
and we will literally just swap to Pathfinder.
Yes.
Cool, wonderful.
Whatever. Yes.
Oh, well, it turns out people don't like Pathfinder. Well, how about
It's the
this?
same
We'll
thing.
make our own TTRPG. Cool, fantastic.
Fantastic.
Anyways, can I get back to helping people? Yeah, okay. All right, cool. And like that was the end of the conversation. No one ever
Right.
asked me about it ever again. I was like, I'm so like disconnected from it. I just
Right.
get
Go
out of
away.
here.
Like, go away, 1D&D.
Like, I don't care. Oh man.
So you have a very out there personality. You said that you've been doing this since you were on screen since you were 7. In your opinion, what is the most important personality trait, strength, whatever, that someone would need to work in an industry and be successful at not only D&D, TTRPG content creation, but content creation in general?
I have another way I want to answer it.
Sure.
2 things. Keep me on track. I'm gonna trust you on this.
Okay,
I'm a yapper. Remember this. I'm a
Yes.
yapper.
Okay, chat. We're gonna keep him on track because I will let. I am a natural listener, and I will let someone talk because I love listening. So, him and I are a combination that's probably not the best.
I was not an extrovert.
Okay.
I was not. I was not a talkative person. I was not I was the shy kid in elementary, middle school, and high school. Like the whole thing. Even when I was captain of the wrestling team, I was still the shy kid. It didn't matter. And I was the person who barely talked in class, scared to talk to literally anybody, like freaking mortally terrified, until eventually college when I decided to actually be a person. And more so, what I mean by that is like, go out there, get out of your comfort zone, talk to people and try to make friends, like rather than just have them try to come to you or whatever, right? And the main takeaway from that is adaptability. You may be one thing today, but as you get further and further along with things, you may change and shift, and that's okay.
Right.
That's perfectly fine. Like, it just shows that you've grown in some way, shape, or form. And, you know, I imagine you'd probably want to grow. Like, I'd imagine you'd probably want to get better. So I would say one thing is, definitely be or you're gonna have to learn how to adapt if you want to be a content creator, DM, whatever. It's like, it's almost a prerequisite or more so a requirement for almost a lot of jobs and stuff.
Right.
But the other part is you mentioned that, I hope I kept on track. You mentioned like, what is the one singular trait?
Yes.
I think a lot of the time we always, and it took me a little bit until like recently to figure this out. A lot of the time we want to, like in life, we want to sort of try to find that silver bullet, like the one thing, like the one thing that's going to, like, I can be Matt Mercer, I can be Brennan Lee Mulligan or whatever, right? Abria Iyengar, insert awesome DM here.
Right.
I can be them or be the best if I do X. That is not how that works. It is not like one silver bullet. Someone told me it's a lot of golden BBs. It's a lot of smaller sort of changes of just tweaking that little bit of thing. Maybe it's a case of just making sure to implement your players' ideas into the world, making sure, or maybe even practicing your voices if you do voices as a DM, or maybe it's it's maybe just sort of figuring out ways to just I think I just mentioned this, that implement the players' ideas and stuff like that. But making sure to sort of approach it from a professional standpoint, showing up on time, making sure to end on time, making sure players are having fun, all this other stuff, like breaking it down into minute, small pieces, and then tackling them one at a time until you're just stacking building blocks and building blocks of, how you say, bits of kind of proof and evidence that you can do practically anything because you've done it before, or you've done all these little things to give yourself the confidence to do the next big thing. In general, I don't know if that makes sense, but
that makes 100% sense. 100%. Blah 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 blah. 100%
Words are
sense.
hard.
Yeah, like so my brain sometimes has to reboot. It's just like, okay, let's just do a little bit reboot. But that makes 100% sense, and I get it. Like, because sometimes if you're stuck in that same spot and it's not working, and if you're unwilling to move out of that spot because for some reason you think this is the next best thing, and I know this is the thing that's going to make me famous.
Yeah, because like
yeah,
that's like going to like Twitch streaming or whatever. I would, and this is terrible to do, and a lot of people do it on Twitch. I was one of them for years. I was like, well, if I change my title, then that's going to be the thing that's going to bring in a whole bunch of viewers.
Yeah.
If I change my go live notification where it says Sensei Suplex sent you a message, then that's going to get tons of people to show up to the stream. You know, all this, that, and the third. When it inevitably or probably fails, then you're like, well, man, I don't know. Is this whole thing for me? Like, I really thought this was going to be the one, and it just wasn't. And then, you know, you probably quit or whatever.
Right.
So having the kind of mentality of like, what is the one thing it's going to be? It's never going to be really one thing. Adaptability maybe if but it's really just like figure or trying to just tweak stuff little by little until eventually you can get there.
What is one of your biggest influences, rather, that most people have never heard of?
Biggest influences in regards to what?
Just in general. So I know a lot of people say, well, my biggest influence is this superstar, or my biggest influence is this thing. But these are things that people have heard of. What is the influence for you, just in your life and what you do, that no one's ever heard of?
Biggest influence in my life. That's tough. I don't even know. I genuinely don't know. I can say this at the very least. There's not really a good answer for it, I'll be honest. There's been a lot of people who have like, I have taken a lot of things like, or maybe they said something, or maybe they taught me something or whatever. Like wrestling helped out for a lot of my mentality of like just learning of like not quitting because and all this other stuff. Martial arts, on the other hand, more so taught me things about like patience and more so focusing on like one task or whatever at a time, all this other stuff. And my stepdad is also, with their constant badgering of like, hey idiot, you should probably, or like, you're mad at me right now, but in like 3 years you're gonna actually know that I'm right. And then he's always right anyways. You know, there's so many differing influences and stuff like that. It's like I can't really say like who is a hero or whatever. Maybe that'll change, I don't know, but maybe I can at least say when it comes to a lot of the ideas or the wacky Sensei Suplex things, like where did Sensei Suplex come up with a Devil May Cry D&D one shot? Or why did he think Guardians of the Galaxy would be a good D&D game? You know, all this other stuff. It comes from me just literally implementing the stuff that I like into D&D. Like it's really as simple as that. And I think the reason why it works a little bit more is because when I'm as engaged into the concept, like if I love, I don't know, Star Wars or whatever, right? I love Star Wars. If I love that, then, and I want to basically make the equivalent or reference a lot of Star Wars thing, I want to give players the ability to freaking use lightsabers or force choke people or whatever the heck, I don't know, whatever, right? And I make mechanics for it. When they see that little bit of investment and engagement from the DM, from what I've seen, it's a little bit infectious where they're like, oh crap, well if Sensei's super jazzed and or like just ready to go for this, then yeah, sure, I like it, let's go, let's rock and roll. And that's just sort of, that's helped me out a lot. Running stuff that I actually like am interested in or I like to do in general. Okay. Well,
speaking of things that you like to do in general, how many editions of D&D have you played so far, or are you just exclusively 5e?
Just the one.
Just the one. Do you plan on branching out? Trying a different?
No, not really.
He's like, nope, not gonna. Don't wanna.
No, it's not gonna. It's more of a case of like, I mean, until I see a real reason to do it, like it'll be a case of like, until people like, I mean, a significant amount of people are like, yo, Sensei, I'm tired of this edition. Can we switch up or whatever? And I mean, like I'm talking 70-80% of the player base or whatever. Until that happens, bro, I'm here for the long haul. I don't care.
Other than TTRPGs, what do you enjoy playing?
Other than TTRPGs, lots and lots of video games. I know it's that stereotypical nerd. Video games, anime. I like working out and stuff like that. I guess just things that I like to do in general, or just like things I like to play and whatnot.
Okay, okay.
Well, yeah, I'm asking which one. Just what I like to do in general, or
just in
things I
general,
like to play?
outside of Aurora, outside of TTRPGs, outside of like your business, what other stuff do you enjoy playing?
Yeah, so and it does. I'm trying to work on this. Trying to like separate a lot of the D&D because you know how I was saying, like, I like to implement a lot of stuff, other things into D&D. It can more so cause a thing of like, oh shoot, all I talk about or all I do is D&D. So I'm like having to sort of make that separation now.
Right.
But outside of it, you know, freaking huge anime guy and stuff. That didn't used to be the case. Into video games since all my life. I've been playing a lot of like MOBAs or roguelites in general. So like Cult of the Lamb, which is an adorably disturbing but hilarious game.
What's the name of the game?
Cult of the Lamb.
Cult of the Lamb. This is a video game.
This is a video game. It is ridiculous.
Okay.
It's out. Yeah. Yeah, the people in the chat, they know we play a game called Parrot or Predecessor.
Okay.
Which is like, if you've heard of League of Legends, it's like that but better. Don't at me. But yeah. So
only D&D.
Yeah. Besides that, I like to really work out, which wasn't I was always like a very, very skinny guy or whatever. And wrestling obviously like changed that, but I actually did, again, I'm doing it again, but I'm working on it.
Okay.
I'm getting better. I knew a lot of people played D&D, and I knew a bunch of people like make their characters level 20, or excuse me, 20 strength barbarians or 20 dexterity rogues and stuff, or monks or whatever, with 6-pack abs, freaking built like an ox and all this other stuff. And I was like, okay, what if, I think the reason why is because deep down, most of the time, not all the time, we want to be those type of people. Or we at least want to be in shape. We actually want to be healthy. We want to be, fit.
Right.
So I was like, what if you could be as fit as your D&D character? And I started a little fitness D&D sort of thing or series where I was just teaching people how to just get into shape and tie D&D into it.
Okay.
And go into that. And that was just really, really cool. I remember seeing like people saying comments of like, dude, I'm literally at the freaking like air base or whatever, and I'm just sitting around and I looked down and I was like, you know what? I can do some push-ups right now.
Right.
I'm doing it right here. Heck yeah, don't stop the series. And I'm so sorry I did. I'm so sorry. I got so busy. I really did. But I did it for like 7 or so videos, and it was just freaking awesome, just showing people like, hey, you can just get in shape, and just because you're a nerd or you're this and that doesn't really mean that you can't at least try or start today.
So,
but yeah, I those are like the 3 main pillars of like what I'm kind of into, you know.
So that's
outside of D&D.
Your outside of D&D pastime is like, okay, I got you. So
yeah, it's the simple stuff. I have very few interests because there are very few things that can really hold my attention or that I kind of see that are worth getting into. I mean, I guess one thing I've been getting into recently is like philosophy and whatever. I don't know. I just find it interesting or just weird and cool. But yeah.
Okay. Rules is written or rules is intended?
What's rules is intended? I've heard rules.
So rules is intended, or as some people like to say, rule of cool. Yeah. Because I know a lot of people when they first start out, it's like rules is written. That's what it says that the barbarian has to do. That is what the barbarian is going to do. But I'm a rules is intended person, and if we can figure out a way to get the barbarian to swing from a freaking tree limb without breaking the tree limb and attacking the lich, we could get it to happen. So which one are you? Well, we know which one are you, but why?
Yeah, so rules intended. I mean, like from the beginning of D&D, like when I first started playing, we didn't know the rules. Like I joked about the like, oh, you must know the like all pages book or front to end of the 5e Dungeon Master's Guide or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I've never, to this day, I haven't read pretty much anything from the DMG. Like, I don't know where the book is. I don't know what's inside of it. I don't know, and I don't care. Because my players just wanted to know what D&D was, and I literally just watched Critical Role.
Right.
I played in it, and I wung it. Like I just winged it and hoped for the best. And they liked it. They had a great time. And then I figured out the rules as we figured out the rules. And now it's just okay with me, right?
I got you. So, if you could DM for anyone, dead or alive, real or fiction, who would that person? Who would they be? Up 5 to 6 people.
Oh, whoa, 5 to 6 people. Oh
like
man,
your ultimate table.
I don't even know. I hate it because I sound like a broken record. I feel as if I do. So here's an insight into my thought process. I could be like, oh, I want a DM for Matt Mercer, I want a DM for Brennan. I could answer that, and you probably heard that 30 times.
Your staff is like, we are listening.
Well, definitely not Green. Hate that guy. I'm kidding. I love you, Green. Oh man. No. So from my perspective, I think of it from the perspective, if my goal and mission is to spread D&D as much as possible, it's actually to DM for people who haven't played D&D, or maybe they thought about playing D&D and they just never got into it, right?
Okay.
So I'm thinking of like the creators that I grew up watching. Like I'm thinking of like people I highly doubt anybody in the chat knows who they are, like the Black Hokage, or maybe even like RDC World, and there's all their freaking ridiculous shenanigans and stupid stuff. And just to, I don't know, my thought process is just to get more people who are like me or nerdy, or who are in like other sort of bits in the community or bits of communities and stuff like that don't know what D&D is,
right,
and can jump in, because like I said before, broken record, play it on a loop. That person may find their next craziest thing,
right,
and on top of that, that little seeing maybe, let's say, RDC World or whatever, playing D&D for the first time could then jumpstart them into playing, and then jumpstart that into them making content for it, and then jumpstart that into having this be a career, maybe going on a crazy mission like me to change the world. You never really know.
Right.
And that's why it's so important to me.
Okay, I like that. I love the answer. So, chat, we have come to the portion where we get to ask these questions that you guys have graciously, I am not doing well with my words today, put out there. So, Rainbow asks, hey, you want to explain what your deal is with pickles?
I hate you. I hate you all. Oh my god. All right. I'm cutting pay. I hate it here. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
He's like,
oh
man.
Insert the obligatory joke of we're getting paid. No. Good lord. All right. So the pickle incident. So I will give you a quick TLDR.
Okay.
So back in the ye old day, not really. It was like only a couple years ago. I had hit 1,000 followers on Twitch.
Ooh.
And you only hit 1,000 followers once. All right. We have to do something big. We have to do something crazy. And I'm like trying to brainstorm of like, what can we do? What can we do? And for some reason, I don't know why or how, someone in the chat mentioned like food or whatever. And I mentioned, bro, I freaking hate pickles. I hate them, and I won't ever like them. Cool. And everybody's like, what? What do you mean you don't like pickles? And I'm like, yeah, I hate pickles. I never liked them. I think they're disgusting. And then they're like, well, have you had one recently? I'm like, no, because I don't like them. Well, you gotta have one, dude. Maybe you'll like them. Oh god,
oh jeez. Oh boy.
Oh god, I can already feel it, the PTSD coming back. So I'm like, all right, here's what we'll do, y'all. I'll eat a pickle on stream for our 1,000 follower mark, but I ain't doing it for free. No. 100 subs, idiots. Yeah, 100 subs.
Will never happen.
I'll do it. Nah, it won't happen. Someone dropped 50 subs that stream.
Oh no!
It gets worse. Well, I'm like, this is Sensei. I'm like, how far can we take this? All right, y'all. I'll eat 2 pickles on stream. But 200 subs. Someone dropped 100 subs.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh no! And I had to eat a pickle on stream. I did not complete eating that pickle on stream.
Oh my gosh.
It was a whole, to this day, I can literally not really talk about pickles without really gagging or
Oh
like
my god.
feeling and almost tasting and
Oh
smelling
no. Oh no.
the pickles or whatever. Like, yeah, it came back out. I'll leave it at that. And it happened 5 times.
Oh no.
And then, if you know Aurora lore, it's crazy how this is so accurate. It came back 5 times, waited a little bit, like about an hour, came back a 6th time. It was horrible.
So,
God.
Fair
And
to
at
say,
that
pickles
point,
are off your list.
what about cucumbers? They're tolerable, but they give me too much, like, I only recently figured this out. They taste a little bit, they remind me too much of pickles, so I don't eat them either.
It's the same
But-
texture, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. So to this day, you cannot pay me. You can't pay me $1 million. You can't say, yo, you'll get a small loan of I don't give a freaking
So if someone
rat's
said,
ass.
if
I'm
someone
not eating
said, I
anything
will
on
give
stream.
you 10,000 subs, not followers, 10,000 subs right now, you would not eat a pickle?
Genuine answer. 10,000 subs. Nah, kick rocks. Like, nah, I can't. I literally can't. I literally can't. Like, I know you're probably thinking, oh, that's cap. Of course you would. When you see it in your bank account. No, like, I genuinely mean, like, I literally, like, I can't be in a room. Like, if you eat pickles and you talk to me, I can't be in the room. Like,
wow.
It's that bad. Like,
It's that
you don't
visceral.
get it.
It's like a visceral reaction then.
It's genuinely that horrendous.
Oh, Big Brother DM wants to be mean to you, apparently.
Yeah, bro, that's an easy way to get lost. That's an easy way to get. Nah, I'm messing.
Big Brother DM asks, have you ever we kind of touched on this a little bit. Have you ever experienced imposter syndrome? And if so, what tips would you give for getting through it?
Man, I think, like I said before, yeah, of course I've dealt with imposter syndrome. I feel as if almost every DM deals with imposter syndrome or any creative.
Yes.
Tip to get over it. I wouldn't say a tip to get over it. I don't know if this will even really be helpful. I'm sorry, but this is just how I look at it. If you are worried about whether your game was good enough, whether your players like the game, whether you're able to nail the landing for that NPC reveal, I think that's a good thing because it shows you care.
Right.
It shows that you actually care about the game and that you want the players to have a good time. If you didn't care, you probably wouldn't be having those feelings. It'd be like, freaking who cares? They'll show up anyways. Like, you know, like, so at least like that reframe or mindset shift of if you feel this sort of way, if you're worried about it, you care. And also on top of that, chances are, this is from what I've seen, most of the time you're a way better DM than you think you are, because the people who are really like super adamant about like getting that one little small minute detail right, it's night and day between the DMs who like don't care and, you know, do. But that's just from what I've seen.
Yeah, I agree.
And they're at least the ones who want to improve, right? So
I agree. I agree. I think that's a great answer. I think that's a great answer. Rainbow asks, to both of you, what advice would you give a new person trying to get into the D&D content creator sphere? You go first.
Is it D&D content specifically or just content?
He's a D&D content creator sphere.
Okay, so Rainbow. Okay, so D&D content creator sphere. I mean, I can't really speak more from what I like. Sure, I may have a platform, I guess, or whatever, right? But I don't feel as if I can speak too much on it. At the very least, I can say this. This is what I heard, and I definitely agree with it. You might see or you might hear of wanting to, you have to sort of be like a super energetic, you have to be kind of like you have to kind of almost put on this persona, or really, really like be out there and stuff like that to get views. And you have to do these crazy sort of things of like almost things to the point of like, if it's controversial, you almost have to do it, or like to the point of like nearly getting canceled, like ridiculous stuff, right? And like, at the end of the day, when you decide to make yourself a character, and it can even be as simple as like, if I wanted to wear the DM's outfit or whatever, and that was like my brand, and like I would like change my profile picture to like having the ridiculous wig and all this other stuff, I can't do that. The reason why is because I wouldn't, at the end of the day, if I looked into the mirror, I would feel as if I'm having to play a character instead of having to play Key. and I wouldn't be happy because I would kind of I imagine what I would feel is I would run into this loop of kind of feeling fake or having
Yes.
to kind of live up to this unrealistic expectation of what people expect me or want me to be rather than
Hmm.
just being myself. And I feel as if being myself is probably a little bit easier, right? And I would
Right.
like to do that a little bit more. Sure, I can maybe be a little bit more animated, whatever. But if I'm myself and people like me for myself, then awesome. If they
Right.
don't,
Right.
who cares?
I agree. I agree.
Whatever.
I mean, for me, it would be look at peruse other DMs and peruse Dungeons and Dragons and find out what resonates with you. And whatever that spark is, that's what you should use to propel you into that sphere, whatever you want to call it, content creation. So if it's like D&D itself, if you want to DM whatever that spark is within the TTRPG world, use that to make your content. Because if you're just using something to mimic someone else, like I can't be Sensei Suplex. I can't mimic his stream. I can't mimic Robert Hartley's stream. I can't mimic Scarlet 64 stream because they are them. So be your own person. Find what resonates with you in that content and run with that. So
I want to riff off of that.
Yeah.
I want to riff off of that.
Sure.
So yeah, like a lot of the time you can maybe or you may not know necessarily where to start. If there's anything that's helped me at least a little bit, niche down and then niche down again and then niche down a third
Yes.
time as well. Because I mean, sure, I do D&D stream, but originally I was just gonna be like a typical video game streamer, and then I was like, oh, I like this D&D thing, so then I niched down to that, and then I end up niching down to DMing stuff, and then I end up niching down to a little bit more of like DMing in a living universe, and then
Yes.
over time I'm like trying to step out of the puddle to a pond and then to a lake and stuff
Right.
like that to more so reveal and kind of implement things that are just me. But
Right.
figuring, like you said, figuring out what you like, what you're into, and just focusing on that for the time being, and then step out later on. That's helped me at least.
Yeah, agreed. Fang Shadows asks, if you had to apply D&D ability stats to yourself, what would they be?
I got this. Okay. I mean, this is no surprise. So strength would be one of the higher ones. Charisma would be the one of the higher ones as well.
Mhm.
So number wise, I can't tell you. That's for you to decide, right? But so strength and charisma. Charisma because I would imagine I would have to be at least a little bit charismatic to have a community. I
Right.
would imagine. So
Mhm.
there's that. Dexterity. I mean, it's like a middle. That's like where the 14 or 15 comes in, bro. Like, like
I do martial
there.
arts. What do you mean?
Like, I do martial arts, I guess, and I don't want to be like, yeah, I got 20s in all stats, brother. No, I don't. Constitution, yeah, I'm a little pansy. I'm a little wimp. You punch me, I'm freaking crying. That's like a good 10. That's a good 10. Intelligence and wisdom. Intelligence. I'm pretty stupid, y'all.
Oh
Like,
God, no. So
I don't know.
I doubt
Go
that
ahead.
with this type of creation that you're doing. I doubt that. But go ahead.
Like, okay, between intelligence and wisdom, yeah, my stupid ass. Like, my wisdom is down bad. It's a 7 and a proud 7. I am bad at reading people.
Okay.
I am the
Fair,
one who
fair.
always is like super optimistic about everything and everyone most of the time or whatever. To the point of my own, like, downfall. I'm that guy.
Oh,
And that's
boy.
why a lot of the time my characters have 7 wisdom. I'm Jacob. So yeah, sorcerer strength base. Wow, it's almost like you're describing Jacob. Wow. Oh, man.
While we wait for more questions, tell everyone
Yeah.
what we can expect from Sensei Suplex, the brand, the person, and from Project Aurora.
So I guess for kind of flowing from from me as a person to like the brand of like what's next for the future of the Sensei Suplex brand.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, so I'm trying to get further into like content creation and YouTube and stuff like that, and I'm trying to more so make things that only I can really make, or things from my perspective. For example, I love anime, freaking love video games, love working out, love freaking philosophy, all this other stuff, right? And I'm trying to implement those things to bring a different perspective to the TTRPG scene, especially with my own like actual background and stuff like that. And we've been making tons of new videos to like just branch out So someone who loves or Dragon Ball, they
Yes.
may actually freaking love some of the videos that we have coming out next. One thing in the very, very near future that I'm making for a YouTube video is what I do or what you could do whenever you run a bad session in D&D, because we've all been there. We've
Yes.
all ran the bats or the
Oh my
session that we were
God.
like, bro,
Like,
you
come out
know,
beat
like,
up.
you're like, man, I don't know if I can do this DMing thing anymore. I'm gonna tell my players I gotta quit. I have to quit. Like, I think this is the last game I'm gonna run, and then you show up anyways next week. Like, I've been there.
Yes.
We've almost all been there,
Yes,
and I'm gonna make a video on basically explaining, from the perspective of a person who's been there like 7, 8 freaking thousand times, what I do to whenever that happens, whenever I feel that way. So maybe it'll be useful for anybody in the chat.
Absolutely.
You'll find it on the YouTube channel in a couple of weeks and such. And that's YouTube Sensei Suplex. Yeah.
So what can we expect from in the future for Project Aurora?
Oh man. Oh boy.
Oh
well,
boy.
First things.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, brother. Well,
here we go.
Besides us getting Alec the Bar to DM for Project Aurora, expect us to try to get bigger and bigger names. Hopefully in the future, we're gonna get Jenny D. No, I'm kidding. Well, that'd be amazing. But we're gonna hopefully try to get a bunch of bigger names to play or run games for Aurora. Now, if you don't know, you as a player, you as a player can jump into Aurora and then play with these people. So that's the whole premise. So if you ever want to be like, oh my god, I love that person, like hopefully we'll be able to have that sort of experience and you can play with your favorite content creator when you typically couldn't, right? That'd be sick. On top of that, we are, oh boy, gosh, I'm trying to like figure out what I can say and what I can't say because of NDAs for PA. Okay. All right, I'll tell you this. I know what we're looking to do is we're slowly working on it over time. We don't know if we'll actually do it, but it's been a hot topic across a lot of the community and stuff. Will we do a project or a setting book? And we got a homebrew team that's working on it heavily. I believe, yeah, we have some of the people in chat like Ed, who's the homebrew lead. And we're basically, if you're not even necessarily into the setting, if you don't know anything about Project Aurora, but we have a bunch of like differing homebrew races, differing homebrew classes and stuff like that that we are working on. And if you really want to know the far, far future, the far, far, like the crazy, ridiculous, like this is going to be 10 years probably down the line. I said this before, I want to make a Project Aurora movie or a movie based in the Project Aurora setting. Full thing. Critical Role, you have your show and stuff like that, and I'm not saying this to be like, oh, well, haha, this guy's never going to do it. Cool, you can say that, and that's going to fuel me to do it even more. But I want to do a Project Aurora movie. The reason why is because I don't want it to be a case of, you know, okay, you see, love Travis, you see Grog or whatever, right? And that's freaking awesome for Travis to be able to see like their character actually like put on the big screen, like, or in the Critical Role Vox Machina show. That's awesome. But you're also a famous voice actor, blah, 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 blah. What I think would be cool is, what if it was you, like you as the viewer, you see your character or you see what your character did from years
ago,
a decade ago, in the past in Project Aurora's history, and you see it while you're sitting in your chair on the big screen. How crazy is like that compared to like just seeing Critical Role in D&D? Like it's night and day.
Yeah.
And I want to do that or give that experience to someone because I don't think anyone in almost any media has ever done it for where it's just a normal person, a normal everyday Joe. Because that is the whole point. It's to make people feel important or like they can leave their mark and freaking leave a mark in a movie. Goddamn. Like what?
That'd be amazing. Like that'd be freaking, oh my gosh. That's an epic thing to do. We do have one more question. Fang Shadow asks, would you ever run or have someone run D&D Destiny, a 5e Destiny module?
I don't play enough Destiny, but if someone was able to convince me enough, I probably would do it. So the way I work, like, if you want Sensei to, like, do a one-shot for it, you have to get him invested into it. And I'm very picky on the things I get invested into. But it's the reason why I made a Hades, if you played the game, I made a Hades one-shot. It's the reason why I made the Devil May Cry one-shot and more. If I'm invested into it, I'll make a one-shot for it. there's your homework.
there's your homework. Well, that's your question answered. So, I mean, would you like to add anything else? Tell anybody else what else you have going on, what we can expect in the immediate future, not the distant future, but tomorrow or the next day or the next day.
Yeah, so for anybody just joining us, if you want to know what the heck Project Aurora is or why I'm so passionate about it or why a lot of these people in the chat are super passionate about it, I actually just uploaded a YouTube video about 5 hours ago that literally is, should I join Project Aurora? It answers that simple question. It's on YouTube. You can find it at my channel, Sensei Suplex. And it's the part 1 of a 3-part video series of should I join Project Aurora? And then part 2 answers what is Project Aurora, or what separates Project Aurora from like a typical D&D game and stuff. And then part 3 is how do you actually join PA and all that stuff, right? So if you've watched this thing and you're just at least a little bit interested, or you want to hear more about the stories or like the players' testimonials or feedback or whatever, go watch that video. It's live on YouTube right now.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for being my guest today. That was amazing. I had a great time.